We've got Elbra Poulus, who is from Ernst and Julio Gallo. And Elbra, I remember we did sort of a pre-interview here. You were telling me that you just took on this great job where you were not only heading up the Lean Six Sigma organization, but you're also trying to pull Agile along with you. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your current position. What's that all about?
Sounds great. Well, I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much. I'm sad that we cannot be in person together, but hopefully one day soon that's going to be possible. I'm Elbra Poulus. I've worked at Gallo for 18 years. My background is computer information systems. I went to a local school here, Stanislaus State University. And after 10 years in IT, I decided to become a black belt, and I joined the Lean Six Sigma organization under an amazing leader and learned a ton. It probably was one of the most transformational things personally and professionally for me to become a black belt and to think differently as an individual and as a leader. And I did that role for a year, and from there on I moved into the master black belt role. So I had a team of black belts that were reporting to me, and I just got a text. I apologize.
That's okay.
From there, I moved into a role in new products organization where they wanted me to transform all of our project management teams into Agile, which was a very different thing for me. I thought very much in Lean Six Sigma and I thought processes, and Agile has the similar, I call them twins. Agile and Lean are twins, very similar, but less on the data side, a lot more on the human side. It's a very lightweight framework, and we were able to transform about 8 of our teams into Agile. And this is every time you see a bottle of wine out there, you guys, and when you're pouring this wine, every single bottle of wine for Gallo goes through the Agile teams. And then any campaigns you see for wine on Facebook, Instagram, any of the billboards you see in the stores that say, this is Barefoot Wine, $5.99 per bottle. All of that is made through Agile. So Gallo has...
Albert, can I interrupt you for a second? It's interesting because we just had a movie on the Monday class, and it was a 13-minute video, and they were throwing all kinds of Lean compatible things, total quality management, Agile. There was ISO 9000, and so it was a real sort of alphabet soup for the students. And I think Wes and I, maybe we didn't do a lot of justice to exactly what Agile was and its relationship. And you're starting to get into that a little bit, but I think this is good, and you kind of do that sort of connection portion a little bit more for the students. I think as professionals, they're going to run into both out there, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to look for a slide that I have so I can share with you guys around Lean and Agile. And basically, that's been my world, Lean and Agile. And as I kicked off more marketing teams, so we have about 8 new products teams for Agile, 12 for marketing. My previous boss in Lean Six asked me to come back to Lean Six Sigma and take over as a director of business agility and Lean Six Sigma, and kind of oversee the entire practice of Lean and Agile. I have to tell you, it's probably the best job in the world, where you can be, you can look at all these organizational problems and help the organization solve them. Because when you work in these organizations, you don't work on small issues, you work on big things. For example, how do we manage thousands of employees through this COVID pandemic as they're coming to work? Lean Six Sigma was instrumental in figuring that out. We have multiple sites, thousands of employees, hourly employees that have to check into 3 different shifts. How do we make sure we take their temperature and their what's the protocol when they're on site in terms of making sure if they are sick, not sick, all of that. We support all of those different processes and projects that come up. And that's just one example. So that's me, that's my background. I think I'll be Lean and Agile gal for the rest of my life.
so Elbra, I want to ask you about, like, what's your current lean challenge? And I think it's fascinating that you've got to kind of bring these two sort of programs together, and you're sort of managing them as one. So do you have like a vice or department head on Agile and a department head on Lean Six Sigma, or how do you structure that so those two really work together?
Yeah, honestly, my biggest, and I'm looking for a slide right now, my biggest challenge currently is how do we bring Lean and Agile together and have them complement each other? The organization has known about Lean for the past 12 years. We've had a Lean Six Sigma organization, and we've supported pretty much every function from operations to HR, finance, IT, and they know about Lean. And now they started to hear this new flavor of the year, that's what they're calling it, Agile. And they're like, oh, okay, we're gonna stop doing Lean, we're gonna move into Agile. And that's been the conversation. No, they go together, they work really well together. And that's the challenge, has been, how do we onboard all of these teams into having them use Agile in a way that actually makes sense for the organization versus just like it's a new thing that they have to learn and they don't even know how to apply.
Yeah, I guess, and you certainly know, more than me. From what I've seen, and I've never worked in an Agile organization, but I've looked at it a little bit, and it sort of seems to me that Agile is real good at the project management side of things. So if I was going to manage a project, I would probably use Agile, and then I would use Lean maybe as the content piece, right? And to help me sort of figure out, well, what is it we should do, right?
That's pretty much how I'm using it. Am I allowed to share a slide?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Okay, let me
see. We tend to run our meetings pretty wide open here,
So another thing that we do at Gallo, I'm gonna share a screen. So we do teach a lot of concepts. If you think Lean is one concept we teach design thinking, and we also, Lean Six Sigma actually owns the content for Lean and design thinking. And then we have Agile as a separate organization. Now it's all one. So let me move my picture here. This is my slide that I created so I can help the organization understand how it all works together. So with design thinking, it's all about exploring the opportunities. You're really getting close to the consumer, you understand the needs, and then you empathize with the customer, you identify the pain points, and the tools that you use for design thinking is all about prototyping. Lean gives you this structured problem-solving approach where you can learn, experiment, build, measure, and similar to design thinking, you identify pain points and so on. The frameworks that we use is DMAIC, Kaizen, and PDCA. Now, the beautiful thing is you could actually run a project all the way through Analyze or run a Kaizen and get the countermeasures and then implement all of the countermeasures using Lean Agile approach. I'm sorry. Because Agile is very good at keeping the teams connected, creating a process and a cadence to get together at a regular time, and also allows for a ton of transparency because you work in sprints every 2 weeks. You get to showcase your work to your customer and your stakeholders and receive regular feedback, and you can iterate. So Eric, to your question, the way I've been using Lean and Agile together, literally, I stop at the end of a Kaizen when I get the countermeasures, and I execute on the countermeasures in a 2-week sprint.
Yeah, interesting.
And I have actually a project slide here. I had an HR project that I ran a while ago. It was about like leave management. We kicked off the project, we did a Kaizen, and we executed an Agile. We did every project that way, and it worked beautifully.
Yeah, no, that's really neat, and thank you for sharing that. So just connecting this a little bit for our Cal Poly students. So we right now we have this class, which is the Lean Six Sigma. There is a class that teaches in design thinking. It's ITP 326, which is the focus is on design thinking. But of course, you know, in so many of our classes, I think design thinking is also a big part of the entrepreneurship, you know, curriculum where they use that. We don't have a lot of play on Agile, at least in the College of Business, but that's something that's a growing edge for us. I think we need to get on that, Wes. You know,
I'm on it. I'm on it.
Yeah, sounds good. They're all, I truly believe every single concept here that we talked about, they can be used at the same time. We do a lot of design thinking approaches. If you think about it in Lean, when you do a startup for a bottling line, you are trying to understand what the customer's needs are, then you prototype. Lean wants you to do the same thing. You create a solution, you PDCA it, you iterate through that, and they're all very complementary to each other.
Yeah. So I want to make sure that our students know that they should be working up some questions for you, Elbra. You know, take advantage of some of your knowledge there. Go ahead and type in the chat or raise your hand, and we'll get you on the screen here.
Well, all right, Justine, you are on. Send it.
Hi, so I love the slide that you shared. It really like helped me differentiate the difference between like lean, agile. But in your opinion, like what would you consider to be the main difference between the two?
The main difference, that's a really good question. I would say it's the scheduled cadence. In Lean, when you're working through the different gates, define, measure, and analyze, the black belt is the one that kind of schedules the time. They'll schedule time with the customers when it comes to voice of the customer versus voice of the business. Then they go back and they do some analysis. They come back, and then there is, to me, what I've experienced, we don't have a concrete schedule on a regular basis. It's owned by the black belt, where in Agile, it's always scheduled for the entire year. You know, your stand-ups are at 8 a.m. every morning. You know, every Monday from 3 to 5, depending on your team, you're doing sprint planning. The next following Monday, you're going to do backlog refinement. So that was a really good question. And I've been using this approach for Agile, for Lean as well. I tell my black belts all the time, have a schedule that's, put the invites on the calendar so people are committed to them and they show up and they exactly know what the intent of each event is. And Agile gives you that. You literally know what the intent of sprint planning is. You're going to commit to work there. You know, in backlog refinement, you're sorting through your projects or your work for the following sprint. So that's what we need to do. Create a little bit more rigor around the meetings for the Lean gates, let's call them. That would be helpful.
And I think maybe thanks, Justine. And maybe in the context of stuff that we've talked about or learned in this class, I think the nice thing about Agile is if you know what the value is that you're trying to deliver to the customer in 2 weeks, you got a well-defined value and a well-defined time frame, right? In which to make it happen. And you right size maybe the chunk of value that you're going to deliver. And I think that's a pretty powerful concept, and marrying those the schedule, you know, with the idea of customer value is a very powerful thing. Thanks for that, Justine.
There is a question in the chat.
Elbra, can we have the student read it? Kind of
yeah, of course.
It gets a different face on the screen every once in a while.
Oh, I would love that.
Jack, send it.
Yeah, Jack.
Maybe.
Jack, are you there?
It's a little loud over here right now, but I just asked, do you prefer the agile approach of quick 2-week work sprints, the scheduling and getting customer feedback, or the Lean Six Sigma approach?
I love the agile approach, and I have been trying to transform all of our Lean Six gates into, in a sense, 2-week sprints, so the stakeholders can get feedback on 2-week basis. But it doesn't mean that we let go of the tools and the techniques that we use in Lean, Jack. We still can do that, but basically you split your work into 2 weeks deliverable. So let's just say you are in you still need to follow the lean principles and the tools and techniques. You just overlay the 2-week sprint on top of those gates. And if you're basically, you need to think about what can I do in 2 weeks? And that's the commitment you get from your team. It's not just your decision as a black belt, for example. In 2 weeks, the team and you decide that you could deliver results on define and measure. Perfect. That is the deliverable and the outcomes at the end of 2 weeks so the stakeholders can see. Just overlay it on top of your schedule and still go through your normal tools that you would go through for lean.
And Elbra, I think, you mentioned an important part. I know Wes said this is, part of Agile is creating a way to make sure you get that team engagement commitment to the deliverable, right? And you got them in a cadence, but you're also sort of asking them, what can we do in this 2-week period? Let's define it up front. And then
That's exactly right.
So I had a quick question. This is Wes, by the way. Sorry, you can't really. Oh, there I am. Hi. I wanted to hear in the video we showed on Monday, the person who was speaking said, you have all these. I want to help you build the ultimate continuous improvement process, and then he proceeded to lay out all the different models that are out there. And then at the very end, he kind of summed it up with saying, build something for yourself. And, as an organizational development consultant, I understand the pitfalls of taking a book off the shelf and trying to replicate what the book says specifically. So what were some of the things that you did to try and take the ideology or the concept or the principle behind what Agile and Lean were trying to do and reconcile and make it fit for purpose for your teams? Like, what were some of the strategies you used to kind of make it work for you?
So yeah, we have customized Lean and Agile in some cases. I'll give you an example, what I did on the Lean side when we were trying to bottle small lots of wine. Gallo is known to bottle large amounts. I mean, we have a 1 million gallon tank, and we struggle sometimes to bottle small cases for pilots. We want to bottle 200 cases and then put it out there at Rayleigh's and Modesto. Say, how did the consumer behave? So what we did was we literally modified our process in terms of how we would even run the project as a Lean project. We brought the stakeholders in on a regular basis. We did sprint planning in a sense. We didn't call it sprint planning. We called it planning. We said, okay, what can we commit to? And then we just brought everybody, made them part of the process. And it goes back to what Eric said earlier, it's around making that commitment together. And then during that time, what was really cool about it, we also got budget approvals there. If we needed to go buy a small tank, we did it right then and there. We literally eliminated all of the communication waste that we would have had. It's like, oh, the team makes a decision, they plan, but the stakeholder is not happy in 2 weeks, for example. That was not happening. So we've modified a lot. We've also, on the Agile side, we've modified the cadence of some of the events. Instead of having a 2-week stakeholder demo, which Agile calls out for, or a 4-hour sprint planning because you have a 2-week sprint, we have a 2-hour sprint plan. Depends on the work that you have in that sprint. So I don't know if I answered your questions, Wes.
No, you totally did. It's more of just kind of driving home the point of one of the roles that these folks may have as they go out and try to implement. They might go into an organization and says, hey, we're trying to do this Lean thing and this Agile thing and maybe this DevOps thing and also this ITIL thing. Part of that is trying to reconcile and make those things, they designed to play well together, but how do you make them play nice? And so coming up with those with just being bendy and flexible was all, and you showed that. So yeah, I got what I need.
Yeah, we can't be, the process is there as a light framework, and we have to always remember that. And as long as we're using the right tools and techniques, we can update things, but we can't lose transparency and some of the principles that Lean and Agile bring to us. If you're following those, the principles are the most important things, and then you're in good shape.
So I think, Elbra, I think we need to kind of call it quits at this point. It's been really good talking to you. I guess I want to say ask you a question, and then I wanted you to kind of give a response to another question, I guess. It's a weird way to say it, but the first one is one of the things that you made me think of in this idea of sort of being flexible and integrating some different concepts. One of the things that I've heard people talk about in Lean is the idea of this sort of true north, right?
Mhm.
Where you have like, okay, you know, we teach you some frameworks and things, but we always need to understand that there's some sort of ultimate goal that we're trying to achieve, and we want you to be flexible in how you achieve it. And I want to see if there's something like that at Gallo or in your approach to how you do things. And then after that, I'd like you to sort of switch it in, as a way to end this interview. If you've got some words of wisdom or piece of advice to all the young, just starting out on their Lean Six Sigma journey students, what piece of advice would that be? So first, true north, and then a good piece of advice.
Oh, I actually had true north and goals in my talking points, and I never even brought it up. I'm so shocked I didn't. But yes, we do use true north, and that's the overarching goal on pretty much every project without question. Honestly, one of the reasons why I feel like our projects are very successful is because we always anchor ourselves on that true north. As we're building countermeasures and solutions on any project, we literally ask this question: are you going to move the needle towards the positive, right? Are you going to improve your goal if you implement this countermeasure? And if you keep that lens on every solution you put out there, that means you're going to be focusing on the right things. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, if they say that, you know what, no, it's not going to move the needle on this true north, but it's a really nice to have, perfect. If we have time, we're going to work on it, but it doesn't mean that it should be done this round. It could be a second phase, third phase, whatever it is. Actually, that has helped me not just on projects in Lean and Agile, it's helped me as a leader as well, because that creates focus for me. And you'll hear this from my boss on a regular basis, I focus on goals and prioritization. It doesn't mean that I'm rigid and I will not take new work in, but something has to give in order for me to take new work in, because I have set amount of capacity. I have only 20 people that report to me. I could go get more people. However, it comes at a cost. So to me, true norths, goals, prioritization are the anchor of what I do as a professional, as a person, as everything. And advice, Eric,
yeah.
I never thought as an IT professional I would ever enjoy Lean Six Sigma practices. And I am process oriented, but not as much as you guys think. So that means Lean has such a light framework that allows you to solve really complex problems with such ease. And as a professional, having Lean and Agile on your resume, it's going to make you so marketable, and people see you in a different light. They saw me as a technical person when I was in IT. Now they see me as a leader that can solve any problem, not just IT problems. In my career, I have solved large HR organizational issues, finance, IT, operations. Lean is used a lot in operations. We've turned it around. We use it in HR, and you won't believe it, in marketing also.
Yeah, I think that's a great part of your story, Elbra, and that's a great way to wrap things up. Thank you so much, and hopefully we'll get you to come back in the future. One way that we could say thank you and goodbye, let's have everybody turn on your videos. So if you go to the gallery view, everybody do a nice Cal Poly Lean Six Sigma wave. Thank you very much for this.
Thank you.